We're going to be picking our story off in a very interesting place. I mean, sure, Naruto and Jiraiya just left off to pursue their 1 month training, or not really 1 month training journey, but I assume that it's literally like 1 month worth of them looking for Tsunade, is what I've always assumed. But generally, I think that because it's 1 month, I think that at around the 2 week mark, right when Naruto was learning the Rasengan and in the process of trying to understand it, I feel like what should happen here is essentially that during this point, Jiraiya obviously goes off and he's pretty much telling Naruto to go back to the hotel room, right? He's off to do some research. Naruto would be in his hotel room pretty much just waiting for Jiraiya to return, trying to practice on the Rasengan, as suddenly he hears 2 knocks on the door, just... And Naruto's like, who is it? Walks over to the door and without thinking about it, just opens it wide open. Seeing the eyes of Itachi Uchiha and Kisame right in front of him, Naruto immediately realizes that he is in grave danger. Naruto jumps back and he's like, what are you doing here? What do you want? Right, just sensing the overwhelming chakra presence that these 2 monsters have, right? Naruto looks at Itachi and Itachi says, you're coming with us. You can do this the hard way or the easy way. And Naruto looks right at the direction of Kisame, who has this devious smile on his face, as Naruto just decides, he's like, I can't beat these guys. Like, in no world will I be able to defeat them. So what does Naruto do? Naruto does the only thing that he can pretty much come up with. When you're in doubt, run away. So Naruto pretty much activates the lightning cloak that the Raikage uses, and it would be yellow lightning for him, right? The lightning sparks off of him and his eyes, like they glow like a whitish color, as bam, he takes his sword out and just slashes at the window and cuts it open, breaking through and just like lunging out parkour style as he begins running from rooftop to rooftop, jumping from building to building. Kisame and Itachi would both be shocked at the speed that some genin is displaying, let alone the 9 tails Jinchuriki, and Kisame would have a big smile on his face saying, so, we have a powerful Jinchuriki on our hands. Itachi says don't underestimate the kid, and from here, they pretty much rush over towards the direction of Naruto, right? They're both pretty much trying their best to keep up. Kisame is more of a brawler type and he is definitely incredibly fast, so I think that they would both be able to keep up with him, but it would be very impressive to them the fact that Naruto was able to even run from them, like let alone like just keep up with them, right? It's crazy to them because not a lot of ninjas have the ability to even do anything close to that. But Naruto continues running, and with the commotion in the town going off, Jiraiya would eventually be notified of this as Naruto rushes towards the direction of rooftop to rooftop, and eventually Jiraiya is like, I need to excuse myself. He immediately, using his his summoning jutsu, would pretty much ask to essentially locate Naruto, and this gigantic toad would stand before Naruto and Itachi and Kisame. They look at it and Kisame smiles. He's like, get in our way and we'll cut you down, Toad. And the Toad says, I can't do that, right? He then immediately proceeds to like swallow Naruto and just jump away, right? And eventually when they start chasing the Toad, like laughing about it, Jiraiya uses the Toad mouth jutsu on them, as the Toad would have led them inside of a hotel room where they're inside of an enclosed area. Eventually Jiraiya uses the Toad mouth jutsu, and because they're not in the same hotel room that they would have been in the original when Sasuke barges in, this would mean that the encounter between Jiraiya and Kisame would go just like usual, with the exception of Sasuke's non-presence. He's not there because Naruto run away. He didn't just stand there and like and wait for Sasuke to come in and be like, Itachi, none of that stuff happened. So Naruto running away made it so that Sasuke was just a bit late, and all he got to see was his brother's back turned on him as he ran away, and Sasuke just had his anger boil up inside of him. But, he was just kind of glad that Naruto was safe. Eventually after this, he ends up embarking on the mission with Naruto and Jiraiya to go find Tsunade, and they would do so with the mission having a pretty relative difficulty behind it. I mean, the only difficult part was getting Tsunade to join, and she does join after Naruto ends up landing a single punch, or a single sword strike. He pretty much ends up, how do I put this? You know how your arm is normally connected to your body? He pretty much ends up making that not the case. And because that's not the case, she ends up having to join them, right? Because he was actually able to land a blow. I think that the Raikage would definitely be able to have comparable speed to hit Tsunade, so I think that Naruto being able to do this would be fairly like understandable, right? But Because of this said fact, she ends up having to join, and so ends up informing them about Orochimaru's proposal to essentially return him his arms. This would lead to Kabuto and Orochimaru versus all of them, and by all of them I mean Sasuke, Naruto, Tsunade, and Jiraiya. Noticing that they're outmatched and that Orochimaru finally has the presence of Sasuke with him, he decides that the only best choice to go about right now is not exactly capture Tsunade or get her to come with them, but essentially capture Sasuke. Because he realizes, okay, Kabuto is powerful, but he's not powerful enough to take out that Naruto kid that almost killed him, and Sasuke at the same time with the Sharingan. So Orochimaru pretty much ends up using some pretty effed up tactics to essentially catch the team off guard, and eventually end up grabbing Sasuke using the reverse summoning jutsu to take him with him, leading to the Sasuke retrieval arc happening just like it would in canon, except this time Kakashi and many other Jonin ninjas would actually be readily available for the task. They begin searching for Orochimaru, but because they don't have any tracks to go off of, Sasuke pretty much ends up being taken by Orochimaru by force, given the curse mark surviving it, and once he gets a taste of the power, he would pretty much end up accepting Orochimaru's proposal for giving him strength. Sasuke would be quite happy, and then we would now cue the 3-year time skip. Now, during this time skip, Sasuke would end up achieving the same power that he would in canon, with Naruto actually pretty much developing a couple other techniques from the lightning style, abilities that he has. Not from breathing styles, because it's he is Zenitsu's reincarnation and not just learning the thunder breathing forms from random people, but he's learning the thunder breathing from himself. He would have actually developed 2 more techniques. Obviously, he has the thunder, the flaming thunder god, and then he has the thunderclap and flash. He's also going to develop 2 other techniques where basically he is going to use his lightning ability to essentially bring lightning down, similar to what Kirin does, except at a much smaller scale. He just points his sword at something and just bam, a lightning bolt comes flying down. That's another technique that he's going to be using, but his last one would pretty much just be a spinning lightning like saucer attack. He jumps up into the air and just like a wheel, like Tanjiro's water wheel, just bam, just becomes so fast that it's like Sonic, and it just cuts people in half. But other than that, he would have also been very, very adept with his lightning, and he pretty much would have perfected it better than anybody else has. His lightning cloak would be off the charts strong, and he would have finally understood the abilities of the Nine Tails. And by understood, I mean have good access to about 3 of the Nine Tails' tails to his disposal without losing his mind. If he goes into 4 tails, it's a different story. But because he's training to pretty much defeat Orochimaru, he just needs a little bit more of an edge. And now he finally has that edge. Because of that, they return to the village, and during this, they pretty much end up having the same encounter with Kakashi, Tsunade, and the rest of the villagers that are in Konoha. When Naruto returns and sees Hinata, he is immediately shocked. He sees Hinata and he's like, oh my god, Hinata, you grew into your body well. And Hinata would, she just passes out after hearing that from Naruto. Naruto from there goes on to pretty much be like, Hinata, and he just stays right next to her, not leaving her side, because it's Zenitsu, bro. It's Naruto. He's not gonna be just leaving her on the ground passed out. She wakes up in his arms, and he's like, thought I lost you there. He's like, how you doing? Good looking. And Hinata, she's just like, oh my god, Naruto's flirting with me, right? That's all she's thinking. She's like, I'm in paradise. And Naruto's looking at Hinata, and so it would be at around this point that they realize that they kind of both have feelings for each other, and they finally end up making it kind of a thing, right? I feel like I might as well do this since it's Zenitsu's character. So they end up going out for a ramen date, and because this time around I'm not quite sure if Naruto would have given Gaara the Talk no Jutsu, I'm just going to be under the assumption that Gaara essentially stayed evil. I mean, without Naruto's Talk no Jutsu, would he have probably had a little bit of character development? Probably. Would he have become the Hokage? Kazekage, sorry. I, generally speaking, don't really think so. I don't think Gaara had it in himself to become a Kage without that motivation speech from Naruto in canon, so I don't think that that's going to be happening here either. So this would pretty much just lead us back into Team 7 just going on irregular missions for about 1 week to 2 months. No, let's say 2 weeks. No, let's say 2 months, right? 2 months. They go on regular missions. Team 7 is pretty much just composed of Kakashi, Naruto, Sakura, and random, other shinobi that they have laying around from the, the people that they graduated with, like Hinata and Neji and stuff like that. But because of this said fact, they're able to pretty much go through and essentially complete a bunch of missions, racking up their monies as, they get pretty recognized in the village. And eventually people start talking differently about Naruto, seeing him in a different light, as Naruto at the same time is pretty much just advancing his relationship with Hinata during this entire period of time that they have together. What ends up happening from here on forward is a very strange mix of Sasuke going after his brother Itachi and Naruto, as at this current moment, pretty much being faced with the task of going over and defeating Kakuzu. The way that they do this is by developing the Rasen Shuriken Jutsu just like they would in the original, and it would be a very, very interesting situation because Naruto's affinity isn't actually going to be his wind style this time. It's going to be lightning. So what does Naruto develop instead of what he did in the original? The ability to actually throw his Rasengan and make them invisible, which is going to be quite helpful considering that Kisame or Kakuzu won't be able to even see the Rasengans coming. Sasuke still would have ended up gathering Taka, and his battle against Itachi would remain relatively similar to canon, with Naruto's encounter against Kakuzu actually changing quite dramatically. In the original, Naruto failed a couple of times to land the Rasengan, but because Kakuzu's not even able to see this lightning charge Rasengan that would have actually done quite a bit of damage to even Otsutsuki level gods in Boruto, I think is going to be making almost the same amount of damage as a Wind Rasen Shuriken. Obviously not that crazy, but it would definitely be more than enough to actually pierce Kakuzu's rock skin that he actually has around himself that makes him so durable as he actually is. This would lead Naruto to defeating Kakuzu and, him being able to after, landing that lightning style Rasengan would be able to pretty much obliterate Kakuzu, right? And use a couple more with more shadow clones coming in, defeating Kakuzu, leaving him not destroyed to the atomical level, but definitely destroyed to the point where he's dead. Hidan still would be killed by Shikamaru, just like he was in the original, and this would lead all of Team 7 and the rest of the other teams to pretty much return to Konoha, having accepted the fact that they finally avenged Asuma Sensei. During this time period, Jiraiya would end up going after Pain in the village hidden in the rain, and Naruto would be tasked to essentially go learn Sage Mode after finding out about Jiraiya's apparent death. 1 week would go by, and eventually Naruto would have this final showdown between himself and Pain, and this is where things would begin to slightly change, because now Naruto not only has access to 3 of the tails without losing consciousness, but he now also has access to Sage Mode, an ability that boosts his overall stats, his hearing, his senses, and with his stats already being extremely boosted because of the overall ability that he has, which is thunder breathing, he would be a complete monster. Like, pretty much just imagine Naruto in the position that he was in canon, just like so much faster, with like Raikage's levels of speed, amped by Sage Mode, amped by 3 tails of the 9 tails. It is absolutely insane how fast Naruto would be able to move. Naruto would be able to blitz in and literally destroy 4 of the paths of pain before Nagato even knows what hit him. His speed is so absolutely blinding that these paths would not be able to react fast enough, with Naruto being able to blatantly just destroy these paths of pain and eventually make his way towards the upper stronger ones, which are the ones with the summoning jutsu, the one that can rip your soul out, and the diva path that can push and repel objects. Naruto would have that ability used on him quite a couple of times, and they would try to fight him from a long range distance, while Naruto tries to eventually use his Sage Mode and his thunder breathing with his lightning cloak to try to tag them each. It would prove to be rather difficult, and eventually Naruto would decide that he needs to snap into his even further levels of speed. He ends up tapping into the 3 tails of the 9 tails' powers, and from here, he slightly begins to be corrupted. He blitzes at the direction of one of the paths of pain, which is the summoning path, and he would absolutely destroy it, cutting its head straight off of its body as he lunges towards the other one and would be right about to pierce him as the diva path repels him back and uses the Shinra Tensei. Essentially, was it the Chibaku Tensei? Pretty much like shooting him up into the air and like a meteor. Naruto would be able to decipher that this thing won't be able to hold him, And using his ability, he would use his newfound ability, which he pretty much rolls around like Sonic the Hedgehog, just spinning in circles with his blade, cutting it. He cuts the meteor in half, and following that, jumps down to the direction of Pain, realizing that he needs to get this done fast. And so Naruto begins having voices from his head being heard, such as Kurama telling him that he can offer him more. Naruto says he doesn't need it, and Kurama says, so be it then, kid, die. As Naruto pretty much is hit by one of the Pain's attacks, having rods inserted into himself, and eventually Hinata comes in, saves the day, and leaves an opening large enough for Naruto to be able to blitz at the Diva Path and cut its head off, leading to the eventual encounter between Naruto and Nagato happening just like in canon, and the village essentially being brought back to life. I'm not sure if I really like this part. I mean, obviously I hated Kakashi's death because it's like, it's Kakashi, bro. But like, I didn't really like the fact that we brought back all those villagers, because it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, if the villagers weren't brought back, people would hate Naruto because it's like, it's his fault that the Akatsuki is even attacking in the first place. But it's like, it doesn't hit as hard because now nobody's death, and it just does, you just don't feel a sense of like despair after this arc, and like there were actually any stakes because of the pretty much reversal in time that Pain ends up just throwing into the story. Regardless though, after this event ends up happening, Tsunade would pretty much be replaced as Hokage by Danzo, and they end up having the meeting, which is pretty much held by Raikage-A. Naruto would be one of the shinobis present there, right next to Tsunade, so when Sasuke ends up pretty much making his way into the room, when Raikage-A snaps into his lightning cloak form, Naruto would do so as well, looking at Sasuke and telling him that things don't have to be this way, with Sasuke saying that if he only knew the half of it, he would understand why he's here. Naruto says that he doesn't know that half of it, but he's on his side. Why do they need to fight? And Raikage, after hearing that, would go to punch Naruto, saying, "You're on his side!" You know, throwing a haymaker, which Naruto dodges blatantly quickly and then moves out of the way. As, you know, it would be a triangle where it's like Naruto's on one side, Sasuke's on another, and the Raikage's on another. Naruto's like, "Sasuke, stop this. You don't have to go kill the Hokages of other villages." And, you know, Sasuke's like, "You don't understand, Naruto. You never have." He ends up pretty much having his battle between B, and Naruto comes in clutch before B can even have his arm, you know, pretty much taken off by the Amaterasu, jumping in and actually landing a blow before him, using his Kurama cloak to pretty much shoot it off of himself so the Amaterasu flames can't burn him, and eventually would lead Naruto to be able to essentially hold Sasuke back long enough for Sasuke to realize that he is blatantly just outmatched. He runs off and ends up inevitably killing Danzo, and following this arc, we would have the 4th Great Shinobi World War established, which would pretty much go down just like it does in canon. Naruto still ends up meeting Killer B in the frog, like toad, Turtle Island, on Turtle Island, and they still both end up making their way towards the shinobis, leading to the interaction between Itachi and Nagato, between Naruto and Killer B, and eventually the battle between Naruto versus Madara and the Shinobi Alliance. This is where things are going to be taking a drastic turn in the series, because it's like, yeah, this time around Naruto has quite a couple of good apps. And what do I mean by this? Well, think about it like this. He ended up actually finally getting access to his KCM form, which is what he would have used to fight off against Madara at this stage, and Madara would have considered him weak. But because of the fact that he has access to this and, you know, he's blatantly fighting off against Madara, I think that the Nine Tails would be able to finally put his pride aside and be like, "All right, Naruto, like, I'll lend you my chakra." And, you know, they fist bump, and Naruto learns Kurama's name, and this would lead Naruto to pretty much use all of the abilities that he's learned up until this point to essentially just take one good look at Madara, who's standing on top of everybody after he had just pretty much dismantled the Shinobi Alliance. And before he uses the meteors, mind you, Naruto just looks at Madara, blitzes at him, and they begin to engage in this like sword battle, with Madara barely being able to keep up because, keep in mind, he is blind. But, you know, what would end up happening here is Naruto would eventually push Madara back and eventually end up using his fastest, most powerful move to essentially cut Madara's head clean off of his body. Madara would admit that had he not been an Edo Tensei, he would have died to that move immediately. But because he is one, it doesn't matter what he does. Naruto simply says check again, and Madara realizes that, Naruto actually placed a seal on him the moment that happened. Madara immediately tries to rip it off, but Naruto during this moment would be helped by Tamari, and all of the other Shinobi Alliance would come in, and they would pretty much end up sealing Madara away for good, leading to Obito pretty much having to fight alone without Madara, and once Naruto makes it to the battlefield, actually being able to keep up with him, leading to the eventual defeat of, Obito and Kabuto, and the entire war pretty much just ending on an extremely good note. We don't end up having Kaguya be summoned, and so the Otsutsuki god stuff never happens in the Naruto series. I generally hated that. Like, bro, I hated it so much that the Otsutsuki were introduced, but it is what it is. Obviously this corporation needs to make money, and they wanted to keep Boruto as a thing. That said though, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much ends up concluding the video of the day. With nothing else from me today, I hope you guys went on to enjoy the story, and if you did, please slap the like button, as it helps the series do a ton better in the algorithm. That said, it has been your boy Xehther, and I am out. Peace.